All right, so thank you for joining us. One more time, if you haven't already done this, please do so. Your name, your school, your SAU. If you're from CDS, please tell us which site you're from, and then tell us what your role is. We just really like to know who comes to join us. That'd be really helpful. Excuse me, this training is being recorded. We will get it posted up on the website, but you can also reach out to us if you want a recording, if you have a hard time finding it. Sometimes our website gets a little wonky. So if you can't find it, or if you just need some help, let us know. We're happy to share it with you. Hopefully you are here to join us for our resources. We are going to just go over what we have to offer, what we think is helpful. And here is my team. My name is Colette Sullivan. I'm the Federal Programs Coordinator. I've been with the department since 2018. And I'm actually leaving the department in January. I'm retiring. So I'm joined here with my entire team is here with me. Jennifer, you want to come on and say hello, please?
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Gleason. I was a special ed teacher and also an ed tech before I joined this team about 4.5 years ago.
Thanks, Jennifer. And Carly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carly Thibodeau, and I have been part of this team for just over 3 years. And before that, I was a teacher also for 21 years.
Thank you. And Ashley is with us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley Satry, and I joined the monitoring team a little over 2 years ago. And before that, I was a special education teacher here in Maine and in Virginia for 14 years. And thanks all of you for joining us on what was, I'm sure, a busy Wednesday at the start of the school year.
Can't even imagine. And then, of course, Julie is here with us as well.
Hi, I'm Julie Pelletier. I've been with the monitoring team for I'm almost at 9 years now. And prior to that, I was K-5 admin support at an elementary school for 16 years.
Great, thank you so much. And yeah, let me just echo what Ashley said. I haven't been in the classroom, like I said, since 18, but I still have those beginning of the school year nightmares. You know, I can't get into my locker, can't find my schedule, that whole thing. So I can't imagine how tired you all are and how busy you all are. So we're really glad you're here. We have been talking a lot about the team around compliance versus best practice. And that's just where we're going to start today, just to reiterate it. As a team, we are tasked with compliance. So what that means is when you are in cohort and we come in and we monitor, we are looking for compliance items, which are all cited back to IDEA and MUSER. However, we also want you to think about best practice. Best practice is better programming for all students, and that is what we train to. We really want you to think about best practice when you're developing programming and IEPs. And it's important to sort of think about them because, as I mentioned, as a team, we're tasked with that compliance piece, right? So if you get a corrective action, that's all based on compliance. That's all based on regulatory expectations. So consider this example to think about the difference between the two. So in this example, if you have a student, you have the meeting, compliance would be documenting in the written notice that a parent chose to waive their right to 7-day notice to implement the IEP. That's compliance. Best practice would be documenting that in the written notice, of course, but also choosing to use the optional form to document that information. If we were to come on and look for this, we would only look for and quote unquote score for compliance, but best practice is a step above and beyond. Another example would be around present level. So if you're documenting present level for a student and you choose to document it as a range, so saying child can do blank with 50 to 60% accuracy, that would technically be compliant, but best practice would be to document that with a little bit more specificity. So child can blank with 58% accuracy. It just makes it cleaner, it makes it easier to understand, makes it better for the parent, and it really just results in better programming. And this is just one more example. So if you're looking at distinctly immeasurable and persistent skill gaps, compliance, this is compliant example. If you just document these skill gaps in reading, that's very broad, right? Reading can encompass so many areas. So best practice would be to really dig down and to document that more specifically. So for example, documenting skill deficits and decoding. Of course, both are paired with the how statement. So just some examples so that you can think about what we mean when we talk about best practices and compliance. So for those of you who are joining us and are not in cohort, we like that you're here. We're happy that you're here because we want everybody to always know what we're monitoring for, what we will be looking for when you come back up into cohort, right? So we like to just share what any changes are. So these are two changes that happened between the 24-25 and the 25-26 cohort. These are two components that we added to the process. If you're not in cohort, I mean, if you were just previously in cohort, don't worry about it. But we just like everybody to know. So WRN2 is just our code, and that is looking to make sure that there is evidence that all required members were present at the IEP meeting. So if you're in 25-26 cohort, this is something new that we'll be reviewing for. The other piece is INRT. Again, don't worry about the codes. They're just how we sort of identify everything. You don't need to memorize them, but we just like you to see them. And that is, we will be looking for evidence that a representative from Part B was in attendance at the transition conference that is held for the child between 9 months and 90 days before that child's 3rd birthday. So those are just two new findings that we will be reviewing for with the 25-26 cohort. So today's focus, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, we really just want to talk about resources. I think we have some really great resources. We are always interested in feedback because obviously if these aren't working for you, then they're not such great resources, right? So really want your feedback on them. And also, if there are other components that you think would be helpful for you or your teams, please let us know. We might have them, or we might be able to put something together for you. So if there's something that you're interested in that you don't see here, let us know. We have done that for teams in the past. But these are what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus broadly on laws and regulation and the resources around that. We have some quick reference checklists we're going to go through really quickly so you can see what those are. We have some information sheets, and then we're going to talk about the self-assessment, which I think is probably one of my favorites of all of these. So laws and regulations. So that would incorporate our procedural manual and the Maine Unified Special Education Regulations, or MUSER. So these are linked. They should take you directly to the website. Again, if they don't, please let us know and we will fix that. But when you go to the website, this is what it will look like, and it'll take you to laws and regulations. Again, these two pieces. And the procedural manual, you can download it directly from the website, and it looks like this. This is the table of contents, and this is a wonderful document that was created, 2018, maybe 17, I can't remember, I'm sorry. It does need to be updated. When MUSER is updated, this will be updated, but as of right now, this is current. And you can see it outlines all of the components of IEP development, including eligibility, written notice, all of it. So for example, if you wanted to document, how do I document if a team member cannot attend the IEP and their curriculum is not being discussed? It's right there on page 12, and then there's just a snip of it. So not only will it show you what the document looks like, what the form looks like, but it'll walk you through the steps and tell you exactly how to complete it. How do I complete section 6 in a way that is compliant? So right there on page 27, again, same thing. It'll show you what section 6 looks like, tells you what it's for, and it will explain to you exactly how to fill it out in a way that's compliant. The procedural manual, I mean, as a team, this is a document that I refer back to with a lot of frequency because I think it's got a lot of really good information. MUSER, on the other hand, the Maine Unified Special Education Regulations, is a little more dense, right? It is a massive document, but it does talk about the regulations. It talks about IDEA as well. And we're not going to dig into it too much today because it is just massive, but you can see the table of contents really outlines IEP development. It has definitions. It talks about just everything. It is very regulatory heavy. It can be a difficult document, a difficult tool to wade through. I joke about this, but I'm more serious than joking. If you have MUSER questions, direct them to Jennifer Gleason right here on my team, because she is a law nerd and she says that with pride. She loves MUSER, and she will be the person to walk you through this if you need help with it specifically, okay? Quick reference checklist. I always kind of chuckle when I say this because they're not quick. However, they are phenomenal. These documents help, again, talk about that compliance versus best practice piece that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation. So just remember, best practice is beyond, and it really does result in better programming for students. So we have a number of these checklists. The first one is the IEP document itself. And this is just a snip of section 1, but you can see that there's red in here and there's blue in here, again, to reflect compliance versus best practice. If something is identified in red, then that means that that is something that we as a team will be reviewing when we come on site. So you can see, for example, up at the top here, FOT7 is in red, and that's a code that stands for evidence that the IEP was sent to the parents within 21 school days from the annual. That is a compliance piece. That is something that must happen within that regulatory expectation. So that is something that we would look for. And if it was not compliant, there would be a finding for that. If it is blue, it is best practice. So you can go through this document. Here you can see section 5 has some best practice notes, as well as some compliance notes. When I was teaching, I have to confess, my IEPs were not fantastic. I would have loved a document like this, and I think I would have had it right next to me when I was filling this out. And I can promise you that if you use this document when you're doing your IEPs, they will be compliant. Here's just how section 7 looks. But this is also on our website. We also have quick reference documents for all of our eligibility forms, and they are organized in exactly the same way as the IEP is, right? Red is compliance, blue is best practice. So here's the adverse effect quick reference document with the notes embedded right in it. Again, if you're filling out this document, this will help you understand exactly what we're looking for and exactly what would be considered compliant. Same thing with the specific learning disability eligibility form. Compliance versus best practice, very clearly laid out for you, as well as the speech language impairment form. And these are just snips, but if you go to the website, the whole document is there. We also have one for the written notice. We get a lot of questions about the written notice, what should be in what section. This helps clarify that. And the summary of performance. So these documents, I think, are pretty helpful. Okay. The information sheets are documents that outline, again, the regulatory expectations in a smaller, more compact form that makes it easier to understand. So this takes the MUSER information and puts it into a smaller document little bit more visual. So for example, we have one here on abbreviated day. So you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, the actual snip from MUSER, which outlines what abbreviated day, what the expectations for abbreviated day need to include. It gives the MUSER citation. It tells you what pages you can find it on if you want more information. And then to the right of your screen, it's just a visual around educational purposes to hold an abbreviated day, as well as medical purposes. So you can see exactly what the code is along the left-hand side, what it is that that code represents, and what it is that we would be looking for if you had a student on abbreviated day, and then where we would look for that information. So again, if you're considering putting a student out on abbreviated day, this is the regulatory piece that we would follow, and this is straight compliance. We also have a webinar that is online. This link should take you directly to it. If you have students on abbreviated day, this is just a quick, probably maybe a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, that will walk you through how to document any students on abbreviated day. So the webinar is there, as well as the PowerPoint that goes with it. We also have information sheets on disciplinary removal. Again, this is pulled directly out of MUSER. You can see the citations to MUSER as well as citations to IDEA. So if you are dealing with any sort of disciplinary removals, this is the compliance piece right here. This breaks it all down for you. If you are a community without schools, this is the process. I have a bug flying around in here, sorry. This is our initial evaluation timeline. So you can see the steps all the way through, starting with when the referral was submitted, straight through to initial IEP implementation. So again, this just pulls right from MUSER and helps just clarify what those steps need to entail. And my team, if you are watching the chat box and I'm moving too quickly, or if there are questions or anything, please let me know. Or everybody, don't hesitate to come off mute and tell me to slow down or back up if you need me to do that. Please. LRE, least restrictive setting, pulled directly from MUSER, also has citations to IDEA. We are working very hard as a team to cite as much as we can directly back to IDEA. The federal DOE really wanted us to do that. So that's why you will see both. Parentally placed students in a private school setting. These are the regulatory expectations around that, directly pulled from MUSER. And a task timeline. So this helps you see, for example, if you have an annual IEP review, gives you the timeline. If your summary of performance is due, tells you exactly when it's due. Procedural safeguards tells you when those need to be given to parents. So if you're ever in a situation where you have to engage with any of these documents, the timeline for each one of those is located on this form. This is an information sheet around the written notice. One thing I like to say about the written notice, for us, for our purposes, we're pretty good at scanning through the written notice and seeing what we need. So we don't get too hung up on, oh, it better be in section this and not section that. So don't worry too much about that. Just make sure that you incorporate the information that you need, and this will help you to do that. This is just a sample. This is not a DOE form. This is not a mandated form, but this is just an example of something that you might want to consider prior to an IEP meeting, during an IEP meeting, and then after. When I was teaching, I did have a document that looked something like this, just because for me, there were always so many pieces to remember. So this for me was, I'm very visual. This was very helpful for me as I was prepping for an IEP to make sure I had everything I needed during Did I touch everything I needed to touch? And then after, did I wrap everything up? So there's a million of these online. Like I said, this is not a DOE form. This is not a mandated form, but I do think it's helpful. And the same thing with this. You can find a million of these online, but sometimes it's just really helpful to get this kind of input from a teacher prior to an IEP meeting, just to be able to have all this information in front of you. Any questions before we move into the self-assessment? Nothing in chat?
No, nothing in chat.
All right, thank you. All right, the self-assessment. This will take you to the link to the model self-assessment. Now, if I was far more technologically savvy than I am, as evidenced by the fact that I couldn't even pull up the PowerPoint on the correct screen, I would have this open and we would walk through it. However, this link will take you directly to this form. It is a practice form. Your responses will not be saved and your responses will not go to us unless you are in cohort. But if you're in cohort, we'll send you the link. So the one that is on the website is for practice only. This form, I think, if I were a director, I would have my team use this, even if they weren't in cohort, because this will walk you through every component of the IEP. It will walk you through section by section, and it will force you to take a look at each piece of it. And if it's not compliant, it will ask you to look at why it's not compliant. So you can see the left-hand side, I just went through and filled in, the student's first name, last name, their age, the date of their annual meeting. This student is not a multilingual learner, so I just check no. They do not attend an SPPS, a regional program, or a 60/40 school, so that was not applicable. Put in the case manager's name, and then their disability category is specific learning disability. So that's just all that child identifying information, right? Then we get into some of that compliance piece, some of that stuff that we as a team would look at were you in cohort. So FOT 8, again, that's just our code, don't worry about it. But what that looks at is to making sure you can see where it says right underneath there, section 1, IEP team meeting at least annual. That's what FOT 8 represents. So if you've completed an IEP and you're going through this self-assessment with your IEP, you're going to look at that. Did I do this? Yes. The next annual date is within 364 days of that annual date, or no, the next annual date is not within. So for this student, it was compliant. So I documented that as yes.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because Bob does have a question. So I think he wants to come off of mute and ask that.
That's Bob.
Hey, I can come back to it if you want. It's just a question about all members present at a meeting, but I can come back if I don't have to ask it right this second if you want to finish this section.
Yeah, why don't I finish it? But if I forget to come back to it, Bob, please let me know.
Got it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so as I continue to move through this self-assessment form with my student, my next piece to review is FOT 7. And that is, you can see again, right underneath it in bold, FOT 7 means, was the IEP sent to the parent within 21 school days? So for this make-believe IEP, no. The IEP was not sent to parents within 21 school days of the annual meeting, or the date was blank. So you would have documented no if either one of those were true. So for this case, I checked no. When you check no, what it does is it pulls up a why. Why was this non-compliant? You told me it wasn't. Now tell me why it wasn't. And the case manager just didn't send it out in time. So this really forces you to take a look at yes or no, and if not, tell us why. So CIM1 is consideration of special factors. That's section 3. And compliant would be each question is answered. And if each question is answered yes, then that consideration is addressed in the IEP. So think of section 3 as your table of contents. If you document something as yes, then there should be something that is aligned to it in the IEP. No would be there blank boxes, or the question is marked yes, but it's not addressed in the IEP anywhere. You can see for this student, the answer was yes. So I didn't need to respond to answering why it was non-compliant. And this self-assessment just continues through each component of the IEP. So RAE1 is where we would take a look at results of the initial or most recent evals of the child. And you can see that for this example, I had to document no, which opened up that drop-down box. Well, you told me no. Well, why is it no? And it was no because there were no evaluations supporting the student's disability category, which was autism. So I could see that the evaluation information was missing. So therefore I had to document it as no. And then it forces me to explain why. Okay. So this, this, as I mentioned, it's just intended to be a helpful tool to review your own IEPs and just really show you if you have areas that are non-compliant and why they're non-compliant. I think it's a really great training tool. Your responses are not shared with us. And what we do is we update this annually, again, so that it aligns exactly with what we're looking at in cohort. Jennifer, maybe you can answer this. I have not gone through the entire self-assessment form, but what would you guess it takes to finish? 10 minutes? Depending.
Yeah, probably 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I think it's 10 minutes well spent. So it's not going to take you too long, but again, it will really highlight for you, oh, I better fix this in my IEP, or, it just really highlights for you what you need to take a look at. Any questions about that? It's longer than what I showed, but the format is consistent all the way through. No questions about the self-assessment? Okay. All right. We have other DOE resources. We have our professional learning resources. This is on the website. What I would recommend, because they have put everybody's PD together, ours used to sort of sit alone. Now everybody's is all together, which is fine. But if you search in that top bar, where in the search bar, and you just put in IEP, it will pull up all of our related professional development. So it's just a way to sort of, filter that through. So you can see, if I do that, I show all 10 entries, search IEP, and then you can see your options here. So these are a variety of lengths. I think our shortest is probably maybe 15, 20 minutes, and our longest is an hour. And what we did, well, with the exception of IEP, the IEP training is longer, but what we did was we created modules for different components of the IEP. So if you look at, let me see here. So like IEP alignment, for example, that's all that's looking at. It's just that alignment piece, making sure that you have it. There's one there you can see goal writing for related service providers. So it just really breaks the IEP down into smaller, more manageable chunks. Our full IEP training is like 2.5 hours, and it can be very overwhelming. So we really just wanted to offer smaller pieces. So like if you're struggling with least restrictive environment, for example, there's a module here for that. The link is there, the slides are there, and it just helps you to be a little bit more focused if there's something you really want more specific support on. So that is our professional learning library. And this will get updated as we develop new office hours. And again, if there's something that you or your team are interested in that is not here, reach out to one of us. We could probably put something together for you. Our office hours, you're all here, so I'm assuming you've received the schedule. We will start second and fourth Wednesday of every month. We were doing Q&A on Fridays. We are not doing that anymore, but we will stay on the line on Wednesdays for Q&A for as long as people need us to. The PD schedule is right here. Contact hours will be offered for all PD opportunities that you participate in, and we're going to talk about how you get that at the end. And this is our schedule for this coming year. So you're in resources. We are going to talk about more in depth around compliant versus good IEPs. That's broken up across 2 sessions. We have a lot of guest speakers this year. I'm pretty excited about it. So we have Bear Shea is going to come on in October to talk about stress behavior in the brain. And that is in direct response to many people in the field saying, we need help with social emotional learning. We're seeing more behaviors. We need help with that. So he's going to come on and try to talk to us about that. Tracy Whitlock's team is going to come and do a presentation on inclusionary practices. We have Part C to Part B transition. We have Michelle Gangelfinger from the Alt Assessment team is going to come talk about that. The ILAP and the LAU plan, McKinney Vento, those are both guest speakers. We're going to try to do something on data collection. Lori Whittemore is going to join us to talk about transition from CDS to public school. We will do another presentation on abbreviated day. Lee Lardieri from Due Process will do special ed law for gen ed teachers, so get the word out for that one for us. We have had a lot of requests for like a case study type of thing, so we're going to try to put that together for May, and then discipline and manifestation determination. We also have our statewide IEP training, which is in October. Like I said, that is 2 hours. If we get it done in 2 hours, it's a miracle. It moves really quick. It's a lot of information. So hopefully you can join us, but that it'll be recorded and available to you as well. And for those of you who write transition plans, we are also doing a B13 transition planning PD also in October, and that is about an hour and a half. So you can register for those and join us for those as well. I have one other website I want to share with you, but of course, you know, just that caveat, we are not endorsing this website. My team and I went to a training with them. I thought they had a lot of really great information that I just wanted to share. It's just for information, just for reference, but it is called the Progress Center. I don't know if any of you have any experience with the Progress Center or if you have done any of their trainings, but this is what their website looks like. And if you go into where it says high quality IEPs at the top, looks like this. They have so many resources. This is what it looks like. They have self-paced courses. They've got IEP tip sheets. They have a little video that talks about a bike and an IEP, which I thought was pretty interesting. So just a lot of different pieces. But what I was most interested in were these IEP tip sheets. They are similar to our information sheets. And this on the left, you can see exactly what the tip sheet series includes. So the IEP team, an overview, etc. And they look like this. So this is just a snip of their tip sheets from the Progress Center that take a look at measurable annual goals. And I just wanted to share these with you because I thought they were really helpful. This website has a lot of information on it. So if you go on it, I know when I went on it, I got a little bit overwhelmed, but that's why I wanted to sort of just draw your attention to these tip sheets because I thought they were really phenomenal. They're similar to our information sheets. They take a lot of information and sort of streamline it down a little bit for you. So hopefully this is something that's helpful. And that is it. That went much faster than I thought it would. But let me, Bob, what was your question about? Should I go back?
You don't have to. I just wanted to ask you really quickly. Well, first of all, you used some vocabulary. You said in cohort. What does that mean? Does that mean when we're being reviewed?
Yeah, that is a great question, and I probably should have led with that. So thank you for asking that. Yes, if you are in cohort, you would know that you're in cohort because you would have already received a letter of notification and instruction telling you that you were in cohort, giving you a visit date. Yeah, that means that you would be online to be monitored this year. Yes.
Yep. So my directors get that.
Yes, the special education directors, correct.
Cool. Okay. And then my real question was about when you said you were going to that WRN2 that all members were present at meetings. It just made me think of a question. We have meetings in the morning before school starts, and then at the end of the day when school is out. We also have them during the day as well. But my question is, do all members? So all our teachers will come at 7:30. We'll all get together. Everybody's there. But then after they report out, they need to go to class.
Mhm.
They can't stay for the entire length of the meeting. So does that ding us because they can't stay for the whole thing?
As long as they have an opportunity to present their information, it's documented in the written notice. I mean, that's a scheduling thing, right? You got to do the best you can.
Perfect.
We would look for evidence of it in the written notice. We would not look to see that the person was, you know what I mean? We're going to look in the written notice to make sure that they were there.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
We always have a teacher that does stay the whole time, so that
Yep.
there's always a regular ed teacher that stays. But the others just, like you said, they say their piece, they get to class, and we document it in the written notice. So
Yeah.
good, feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we sort of wrap it up? No?
I have a question. So, when you say all of the teachers, so if we're holding the meeting during the day and we have 7 other teachers that is work with the kids, often they can't all attend. So we have reports sent. Is that enough to document in the written notice?
We have to see, I wish I had the snip of exactly who needs to be there. There needs to be a gen ed teacher present. But you don't need to have the entire team there the entire meeting. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that would be challenging at best.
You only need to have one gen ed teacher there.
Okay, I was just concerned when it said the entire team that you really meant everyone, like all 7 teachers. That's what I was wondering.
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I didn't mean to panic everybody. All right, this is our professional learning feedback and contact hour form. There's a link, and I bet the link will get dropped in chat, as well as the QR code. If you take a moment and go on and give us feedback, you will receive a contact hour in the email, in your email. We have taken feedback that we've received from the field. We take it very seriously, and we have made a lot of changes based on feedback that we've received from the field. So we really do appreciate it when we receive feedback. Let us know what was helpful. Let us know what was not helpful. And if you have thoughts, let us know. We really want to know what you think and how we can make it better, because this is intended to be your time. And if it's not working for you, we need to fix it. This is all of our contact information in terms of social media, sort of our mandated form. So if you want to follow Maine DOE on any of these sites, you can do that. And here's our contact information. You can reach out to any of us at any time. We try to maintain a pretty tight 24-hour-ish turnaround time for emails or phone calls. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions, or again, if you've got thoughts around other PD or other resources that might be useful for you or your team. We love to be accessed as much as possible. And I'm just going to put this back up for anybody who needs it. Is there anything else that we can answer, or any other thing that I could go back and review?
I just have a question. When we were talking about the self-monitoring document,
Mhm.
there's the one that's online that's a practice only. Is there a written out one that we can like, like print out, like a paper one somewhere that we could print it out or no?
I know, Jennifer, could they print the form?
No, you can print it, but it'll print the whole form. It'll be like 1,000 pages. But that's what the IEP quick reference document will do for you. That you
Okay.
can print, and it has the same information. It tells you for each thing we look at what's compliant and what's best practice.
Okay.
Yeah, this
All right,
IEP
thank
quick
you.
reference document has it has the same, like Jennifer said. Yeah, it has the same exact information, and that you certainly can print because that's just embedded on the IEP form itself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to give you back 20 minutes of your day. So please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions or if there's anything that we can help you with. And thank you so much for joining us. I know this was probably a busy couple of weeks for you. So we're really glad you're here, and let us know what we can do to support. Thank you.